Chapter 1, The Guest Knows Best. So the first thing I will tell you with these kind of overviews of the chapters is that I'm just going to give you some opinion based on my experiences. Things that are in the book. This is never a substitute for not reading the chapters yourself. It's very important that you do to really grasp the material, but I'll kind of highlight that. Many of you who are in this class right now are probably working in industry in a bunch of different capacities, and I encourage you to start thinking about those experiences you've had as an owner-operator, a manager, an employee, server, etc., bartender, what have you, and then also start to look at yourself as a guest. And when a certain experience has happened to you and kind of how it relates to this book. So keep that in mind as we go through. For a really, really long time, organizations, not just in hospitality, but everywhere, knew what the customers wanted. Okay, we know this. Our customers want this. Our customers want that. The difference is that look at it from the prism of the guests. Treat your customers like guests instead of like dots and numbers. New managers constantly, a lot of them they struggle because they get hired and they think of customer. I need this many customers to walk through the doors at dinner tonight or to check into our hotel tomorrow, instead of the guest experience needs to be this. There's plenty of research out there about guests, and you'll see that as much as we can, we want to observe their behaviors. We want to know what they want, they need, and their expectations are. And you start to think about this from your own standpoint of someone who is a guest. What do you expect when you go pay $100 a person for dinner? And what do you expect when you go have a burger and a beer for $7? Which is probably pretty hard to do in South Florida, but you get what I'm talking about. Once we figure that out, then it becomes easier to take our product and tailor it to meet the demands. And of course, what you already know and what this book talks about a lot is the various demands of various groups. And that is where that becomes challenging. And it's a constant game, if you will, that we always play and we try to figure out. We're trying to make sure that we look at it from the standpoint of when they evaluate quality and value of experience, we're dictating to them what that should look like, for lack of a better word, and how they should interpret these things. Okay? And so, again, when you look at the key drivers, there's all kinds of things that go into that. And then you see that term, guestologist. And this will be the first and probably not the last time that I reference Disney. But guestology comes from the Walt Disney Company. And again, we scientifically study the guest as much as we possibly can. And we observe the behavior within the organization. And you can roll your eyes at Disney and you can say, yes, I agree with it. And I wouldn't say that in either case you would be wrong. But that is what they have always strived to do. If you are brave enough to call yourself the happiest place on earth, then I think you know what the expectation is from a guest if you're going into a place that calls itself the happiest place on earth. Whether you think it's right or wrong, you get that. Okay? So when we talk about service, for that definition, the intangible part of transactional relationship between provider, organization, its customer, client, or guest, intangible becomes very, very, very important. Because for the most part, most of the stuff that we talk about here is stuff that you really can't take with you. You understand? So you're relying on service to take that to the next level. And yes, there are tangible things. If you go to, let's reference Disney again, and you get a pair of Mickey Mouse ears and you take them home, great. But if you go out and eat, and the food is great, okay, and you eat all of it, well, you don't take that home. But you remember the service. So you kind of see that kind of push and pull, if you will, of what that means in the relationship to the guest. So it's constant. It's a constant struggle that we're trying to work on. Is something that, for the most part, can't be taken with the guest. That is supposed to be memorable, and that they go and tell everybody how amazing it is. Okay, so it's usually a mix of both, and a lot of times, a lot of it's intangible. As I just said, the moment or during period of product or delivery. So we're relying a lot on that interaction between us and the guest. If it's something that can't be taken with them, then it is the experience. And back to what we talked about earlier, wants, needs, expectations, trying to, through service, fulfill all those things so that it is, in the mind of the guest, a perfect experience, or as close to perfect as we can get. So, in that interaction, what we strive for, what all companies strive for, is first contact, first touch, greeting the table within 60 seconds, whatever policy is out there for the organization of, hey, it's critical that when the guest comes into the hotel room, that someone says at least hello to them within this period of time. Okay. Memorable things that we talk about. In this interaction, I'm going to try to move this up just a little bit. We constantly look at these relationships as far as if there is customer present, service provider present, customer present, those types of interactions, okay? Those service encounters. If it's going to be face-to-face, okay, and you see hospitality's at the top of that, then it becomes critical that we co-produce that. And so we don't let the guest dictate everything. We dictate, and that could be a lot of things. That could be set up in a dining room. It could be all kinds of different situations. But again, teaching your employees how to manage that relationship. If, let's say, you're going to do tableside Caesar salad. Okay, how's that done? How do you manage that situation? I worked for a place and we used to do tableside bananas Foster, and if you've never seen that or had that before, it's a beautiful presentation because the chef comes out, there's this gigantic flame, and it looks really good because you add the alcohol to it, and it looks beautiful, tastes really good too. And from a selling point, everybody that saw it, it has the ooh-ah factor, and everyone's like, what's that? We want it. Well, that's got to be managed very carefully. But from a relationship with the guest, it was probably one of the easiest items we ever had to sell. Because, like I said, people saw it and they wanted it. So, you see this little chart up here, industrial service experience, acceptable goods to memorable experiences. So we take something that is, I don't want to say so-so, but you would say, yeah, that was fine the way it is. I have no problem with that. And you take it to where, whoa, like take it over the top. This is the difference. That's how we do that. Again, product, setting, delivery. So here's what we're essentially selling, here's where we're selling it, and here's how we get it to the guest. And you can imagine that could be, a hotel room at a resort. Getting you on board a 7-day Caribbean cruise. How it is done. Serving you a beer at happy hour. All these different things. We want the guest experience to be unique. There's so much competition in everything that we do. The goal is to get you to choose us over our competitors. And a lot of that has to do with that experience. Okay? and how that experience is delivered. And that doesn't mean that delivering that experience has to be, this all-encompassing, insanely expensive thing. That's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about how we deliver it to you as the guest. That becomes the key. The encounters that we have, again, we talk about, you'll hear moment of truth, you'll hear critical incidents, you'll hear this a lot. Moment of truth can be different areas for different customers and how these different things happen. Okay, it's how we handle this moment of truth encounter with the guest. The critical incident, okay, that is how we learn. Okay, and they talk about there's only a few moments of truth in every guest experience. That may be true. So you have to make sure that they're right, that they count, that you manage them as best you can. And again, critical incidents, good and bad things. But again, what happened in this situation? Okay. And I think what's important in this book is they talk about organizations ask their employees to identify moments of truth or critical incidences and record them in a database. They see everything. They know everything. And we take those experiences and we grow and we get better and we say, based on what a front desk person observed today, this situation happened. What do we take away from that situation? Okay? Because that's how we improve all the time. It's constant. It's constant. You're developing it constantly. So, difference between quality guest wants and quality guest needs. Again, when we look at this and we talk about quality, we're talking about, the entire experience, okay, guest experience, and then experience delivered minus quality expected. So, EED, delivery and expectation, okay? The higher the quality experience, the closer you get to exceptional service, okay? And again, independent of cost or value. So you can kind of see we're not talking about pricing. We're talking about their quality experience. So could it be price related? It could be, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be. Okay? And then the value experience divided by all the costs. So you look at if the quality and cost of the experience are about the same, the value of the experience to the guest will be normal or as expected. So, okay, does it match the guest expectations? If I'm spending X amount of dollars for this product or this service, do I feel like I got what I paid for? So, and you can see where that could be anywhere along the price range. Perception. Again, we talk about price, we talk about opportunity costs and things that we'll talk about more and more as we go through the chapters. There's just so much to service and how we manage it. And as you explore this book, just always keep in mind that we're constantly evolving. Think about some things you do in your career, have done in your career, that you're doing right now at a job that you have, where you are going for guest-centered service, quality service, and what that means to your organization today, tomorrow, moving forward. Does the price match the service? It's a constant argument and a constant battle that we have in our industry. Well, if I'm paying this much, I expect this. And the financial and non-financial, when we talk about those equations of value and quality, listen, we're still trying to make money. We're in the business of making money. So how do we balance that? It's very, very hard. So that's just a quick look at Chapter 1. And if you have any questions, please email me.